Labor's plan for the voice. It's kind of Aboriginal-only parliament in our constitution. We'll have a vote on it later this year to supposedly consult Aborigines about government decisions, as if it's never been done before. In fact, as I pointed out on this show, we already have a massive bureaucracy that does exactly that job. 1,300 people, no fewer, paid for by the Albanese government in what's called the National Indigenous Australians Agency. Now, today, in the Senate, you asked the government how much this NIAA was getting. I couldn't believe this answer.
The NIAA priorities this year include closing the gaps, implementing the Uluru Statement, developing a new jobs program, delivering First Nations justice, whatever that means, and more. It has also budgeted $31 million to deliver local and regional voice implementation, despite the Prime Minister saying he would not fund the yes or no cases in the coming referendum. Will the Minister please inform the Senate about the NIAA's total budget for 22-23?
That information that you are requesting will, of course, be published in due course.
It's like, Don Farrell's a nice guy, but don't get me wrong, Pauline, it's like you say, NIAA, what is that exactly? Now, that figure has actually been published, you found it out, and it is twice as much as I thought, because I relied on the annual report last year. Tell us the real figure, what this government gives to an agency that Don Farrell there couldn't even think about what it was doing and why.
Just shy of $4.5 billion a year. And that's under Prime Minister and Cabinet. So anyway, this is what they get, Andrew. It's just absolutely bloody ridiculous. And they advise, this is what I tried to put it out, and it's in the 22-23 budget. We're coming into the 23-24 budget, and he said, oh, it's going to be in the budget papers. He doesn't have a clue. He didn't know what he was talking about. And this is what I find a lot of the time. They don't know what they're talking about. And, couldn't answer the question. It was hopeless.
Look, I watched that whole exchange. You asked him 3 questions and he gave you an answer to none of them, like he didn't know and didn't care. I mean, this agency is doing exactly the consultative work and advisory work and lobbying ministers and presenting evidence to Senate committees and what have you that we're told the Voice should be doing, and we're giving it $4.5 billion a year, and he seemed barely to know it existed. Now, you asked another question about this Voice I also want to show. Now, the person people watching can hear screaming, yes, right next to you is Senator Lydia Thorpe. She's the race-baiting senator who wants a sovereign Aboriginal nation. Here we go.
And you don't even know, the budget papers are already out. Actually, the NIAA is almost $4.5 billion. It employs more than 1,300 people, and its remit appears to be largely the same as the government's somewhat vague intentions for the Voice. That's truth-telling for you. Will the Minister please explain why Australians should not believe the government's ulterior motive in implementing the Uluru Statement is to establish an independent, sovereign black nation in Australia?
Yeah! Order, Senator Thorpe.
I completely reject your proposition.
You got another non-answer, really, apart from, oh, no, I don't agree with you. Pauline, we are going towards apartheid with this, aren't we?
Oh, definitely, Andrew. There's no other reason for it. As Senator Polly said on the floor of Parliament, we need to put this into the Constitution so it cannot be taken out. It's like everything we have in the Constitution. Section 51 states everything that the government should be dealing with, and it's one word. They said, Linda Burney last week, and having a telephone hookup with them, said it's going to be 4 lines. What you're doing is putting this into the Constitution, then the government can use part of it to do whatever they want to implement any part they want into legislation. So it's just, tick this box, give us a yes, and we will just go and do whatever we want to do. And Andrew, I've known about this. They've wanted self-determination. They've been wanting their own state within this country, and it will be a black sovereign state, the same as what they've done with the Inuit people in Nunavut, in Canada, and I tell you what, it will divide this country. Surely can't we see what's happened in Africa with a lot of the nations there, the division that's happened, and this is why I will continue to fight against this, and I want people to really think seriously what they're going to hand over if they give this the tick of approval, the yes vote.
Well, look, Pauline, we don't need to take your word for what the ambition of at least some activists, I'm not saying all Labor, but some activists is, because you heard Lydia Thorpe saying yes, 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 right next to you. She was so excited she couldn't hide it. Pauline Hanson, thank you very much for your time.
Quick favour before we begin. If you are the kind of person who loves Australia and wants to stay up to date on what is genuinely happening inside our country's politics, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon right now. It helps us keep this channel going, and over 90% of viewers have not subscribed yet. It would mean the world to us if you did. Thank you. Now, back to the show. Here is a question nobody in Canberra wants to answer. The federal government already spends just shy of $4.5 billion every single year on Indigenous affairs, funneled through a massive agency of more than 1,300 staff. So when the Prime Minister asks you to vote for a brand new permanent Indigenous voice in the Constitution, the only sensible response is this: what exactly are we paying $4.5 billion for already? That is the question Pauline Hanson asked in the Senate, and the answer she got tells you everything about how this whole referendum is being sold. She stood up and put it to Labor's Don Farrell directly. What is the National Indigenous Australians Agency actually spending each year? And Farrell, the man meant to know this inside and out, could not give her a number. He fumbled, he dodged, and he told her it would be published in due course. Hanson's verdict was brutal and, frankly, accurate. The man had no clue. He could not even say what the agency was doing or why. Now, here's where you have to pay close attention, because this is the part the Yes campaign does not want you to think about. That agency already does the exact job the Voice is supposedly being created to do. It consults, it advises ministers, it appears before Senate committees, it submits evidence. In fact, it even set aside $31 million for local and regional voice implementation, the very thing the Prime Minister swore he would not fund. So let us be honest about what is actually being proposed. This is not about giving Indigenous Australians a seat at the table. They already have one, and it's costing you billions. This is about writing a brand new, open-ended power directly into the Constitution, where no Parliament can ever take it back. And before we go further, do not forget to like and subscribe, because this is the debate the mainstream media keeps telling you is already settled. It is not. Here is the uncomfortable part. Once you carve something into the Constitution, it does not stay the size you drew it. Constitutions expand. They get tested in court, stretched by legislation, pushed further by the people who benefit from pushing. Lydia Thorpe is not exactly hiding her intentions. She is practically screaming yes to a sovereign Aboriginal nation within Australia, built step by step from the Uluru Statement. Now, you might think that is a long way off, and maybe you're right, but that's the whole point. You are not being asked to vote for what the Voice looks like today. You are being asked to vote for what it could become tomorrow, with no Parliament able to slow it down. So before you tick that box, ask yourself the question Hanson asked, because it is the only one that matters. Why does Australia need a second, permanent, constitutionally protected Indigenous body when the first one is already costing us $4.5 billion a year and nobody in government can even explain what it does? Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.